Welcome to the Utah NHL Team Podcast, where we'll be diving into everything you need to know to be a day one fan and to be extremely excited for this team as it comes to Salt Lake City this year. I'm going to go ahead and dive into it right now. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for tuning in and listening to another episode of the Utah NHL Podcast. I'm your host, Hayden. I've got a full slate for you guys here today. Period number one, I want to dive into the draft lottery and how that works, where we're slated, what we can expect. Part of that we'll be covering with the standings from last year and kind of explaining how we got to the situation we're in with the draft lottery. Period number two, I'm going to be doing some hockey talky. I'm going to get into some more sayings that will help you feel like you're a hockey player or a lifelong hockey fan. And then in period number three, I'm going to go into the NHL playoffs. We've had a wild week. Some series have ended and some have some more drama in them. So I'll be breaking that down in period number three. Period number one. So NHL standings is what we're going to have to explain first to get to the point of where we're at in the draft lottery and what the draft lottery is and how it works. So last year, where the Arizona Coyotes, now Utah Hockey Club or Utah NHL team, TB named, they finished 6th at last in the league. So 6th from the bottom. There's 31 teams. They finished in 27th, or 32 teams. They finished in 27th. So the way that your spot in the standings is determined, your place in the standings is by the number of wins you have and then the number of overtimes you've gone to. So you receive 2 points for a win. So if I win my Wednesday night game, our team, the NHL team in Utah, gets 2 points. However, if we go to overtime and still lose, we are still rewarded 1 point. So that's a little unique, kind of similar to soccer in the standing situation. Instead of 3 points for winning and 1 point for tying in soccer, though, it's 2 points for winning and 1 point for going to overtime or tying. Then you would get the 1 point. However, if you do win in overtime, you still get 2 points. So let's say Utah NHL team is playing the Las Vegas Knights. We go to overtime and we lose to the Las Vegas Knights. Las Vegas Knights get 2 points in that game, and the Utah NHL team only gets 1. If we win, we get 2, they get 1. So if you win, regardless, you get 2 points, but you can still get 1 point for losing if you do go to overtime. So with that being said, throughout the course of the series, the Arizona Coyotes last year, 82 games, they had 36 wins and 41 losses, and then 5 overtime losses. So you add 36 times 2 plus 5, get you to 77 points. So that 77 points was good enough to have them finish in 6th to last, so the 27th spot. To get into the playoffs this year, you needed at least 90 points. 91 points was the lowest. Probably need more like usually mid-90s to get into the playoffs. So we're about 20 points short or 10 wins short of being in the playoffs, so we need about a 10-win improvement. We also just didn't really go to overtime that much, like honestly, or we didn't lose a lot in overtime. 5 is one of the lower numbers. I'm looking through the entire league. It might be tied for the lowest. I don't see any others. 1-4. Okay, so tied for the second lowest amount of overtime points given that in losses. So that's something that can't really control a ton of, but we could have probably left a lot of points on the table last year that we could probably make some small adjustments and get improvements here. So we finished in 6th with 77 points. The teams that finished below us were the Montreal Canadiens, 76 points, Columbus Blue Jackets, 66 points, Anaheim Ducks, 59 points, Chicago Blackhawks, 52 points, and San Jose Sharks with 47 points. I think that's the really, really close to the lowest point total. I can't remember if the previous record was 46 points or 48 points for the lowest point total post cap since the NHL instituted the salary cap, there have only been a few teams that have been as bad as the San Jose Sharks team. So the way that it works in the NHL now is every year when players turn 18, they're eligible for the NHL draft. So every summer, all of the teams are able to draft this year's 18-year-olds. Every player in the world that just turned 18 that wants to play in the NHL can become a member of the NHL draft, and then the players can pick from the members of the NHL draft. The way that they do that is through it's called like a snake draft. So the worst team in the league gets the first pick, second worst gets the second pick, and so on and so forth. However, the NHL has a lottery system in place to avoid teams purposely tanking their season. So what that means is, let's say, Utah NHL team halfway through the year next year, we know we're not going to make playoffs. To not incentivize us to just tank our season and finish dead last intentionally, we have a lottery system, meaning that there's always a chance to get the first pick in the draft, and then by getting last, you have the highest percentage chance, but you also are not guaranteed that first pick. So there's a lot of things that have been floated to kind of fix the lottery percentage system, and a lot of conspiracy theories about how it's biased for big market teams and things like that. I'm not going to touch on the conspiracy theories. I'm just going to explain what it is today. Maybe after the lottery draft happens and we see what happens with the teams and any movements and positions, then maybe we'll talk a little conspiracy theory there. But for today, I want to just kind of explain everything. So in regards to the San Jose Sharks, who finished dead last with one of the worst seasons in NHL history, they only have a 25% chance of getting the number 1 overall pick this year. So the odds that they get the best 18-year-old available this year is 25%, 25.5% technically. And then the odds that they get the second pick are 18.8, and the odds that they get the third overall pick are 55.7. So San Jose is guaranteed pick 1, 2, or 3 with this lottery system, but they're actually technically most likely to get pick number 3 out of all of those 3 picks. However, they do have the highest out of any team likelihood to get pick number 1. So just going down the list, the San Jose Sharks have a 25.5% chance at number 1. The Chicago Blackhawks, who finished second to last, only have a 13.5% chance of getting number 1. Anaheim Ducks only have 11.5% chance of getting number 1. Columbus Blue Jackets, 9.5. Montreal Canadiens, 8.5. And your Utah NHL team has a 7.5% chance at getting the number 1 overall pick. We also have a 7.7% chance of getting the number 2, basically a 0% chance of getting number 3. And then where we're most likely to get our draft pick would be in the slot, probably 6 or 7. So 6, we have pick number 6, 34.1%, pick number 7, 41.4%, pick number 8, 9.1%. And those are the only real opportunities that we have, or that we're going to actually get picked. So there's a small chance that we could have pick number 1, 2, and pretty high chance that we're going to have pick number 6 or 7. And some history with this team that I want to go over, because it's important, but it's also important to know that the history of the old team is not our history. So when Ryan Smith bought this team, the Arizona Coyotes franchise, records, history, the jerseys that they retired, their Hall of Famers, everything stayed with Arizona. It stayed in Arizona. The Alex Murillo has the rights to all that. It all stays in Arizona. The Utah NHL team has no history. So keep that in mind. We have no history, whereas the Arizona Coyotes in the historic past, they have never moved up in the draft, meaning we finished 6th this year. They've never moved up to 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, or 5th in picks. So they've never improved their positioning with the lottery system, which is just luck, and it's bad luck. But I want to say that that's going to change. This year, the Utah NHL team, we have good luck. We don't have the Arizona Coyotes luck. That's not our team, not our franchise, not our problem. We have a new team here that is feeling so good right now on an emotional high after the event last week. We have a 7% chance at the number 1 pick and a 7% chance at the number 2 pick. I think we're going to get one of them. I really do. I'm a betting man, and I'd put some money on it. I think it's going to happen. I think number 1 or number 2, we're getting either of those picks. So that's a quick high-level introduction. I wanted to share my screen to give you guys kind of the chart that breaks down this percentage of the picks. Still figuring out how to do that on YouTube here, but I'm going to go ahead and I'll probably post this to social so everyone can see it. Check out on Instagram, and any other following that you have, Twitter or X. I'll post it on there too. So check it out. That's pretty much it for period number 1. Wanted to explain our situations. Want to tell you guys this is our year. We are moving up in the draft. It's our first year. We're going to get the first overall pick or the second overall pick. Thanks. Period number 2. Everyone's favorite, myself included, hockey talkie. Today, I wanted to bring up a few things that you can yell at a hockey game to sound like you are a seasoned veteran, a lifelong fan of the team, and a hockey fan. We've got some specific things to our game that you can yell that make lots of sense in the game. And then also, they help you just not sound like a noob out there. One thing that I'll say is, hockey has 3 periods. If you're calling them quarters or halves, that's going to point you out. So make sure you stick to the periods there. But really today, I wanted to get a few other ones out there. Number 1 being, you'll hear this guaranteed every single interview you do with a hockey player in the NHL. They're always going to say, get pucks deep. We got to get more pucks deep. We got to get more pucks deep. Hey, how did that period go well for you? Well, we got pucks deep. What do you need to do next period? Well, we need to get more pucks deep. So what does that mean? What is getting pucks deep? It is when a team is pushing the puck consistently and pushing it into the offensive zone. So when, every time I get the puck, my priority is to get it to the offensive zone. No turnovers in my defensive zone, no turnovers in the neutral zone, just no matter what, even if I don't have possession, I just need to fling the puck, flip the puck into the offensive zone without getting an icing. So that means the way that you typically will get pucks deep is skate the puck to the red line or the center line and then just shoot it into the offensive zone. And you do that and then you try and go and retrieve the puck. So it's called a dump of the puck. You got to dump pucks in. That's another way of saying it. But to get pucks deep, you need to be putting the puck consistently behind the other team's goalie, and then your team going on the forecheck and the forecheck would be how you essentially go and try and take the puck from their defenseman in their defensive zone. It's defense in the offensive zone is forechecking. So when you get pucks deep, we're consistently just shoving the puck on our opposing team's side of the ice, trying to never play on our end, always play offense, never play defense. We just got to always get pucks deep. So when your team's struggling in a game and, maybe it's tied or there's been a while since you've had shots, just start yelling, get pucks deep. We got to get pucks deep, boys. Get that puck deep. Just yell that at your game, and that'll make you sound like a seasoned veteran of the game. The next one that I wanted to bring up is, ice it. Ice it. Ice the puck. Ice it. So what that means is when your team is in a bad situation. So let's say they are taking shot after shot after shot. Your goalie's standing on his head. He's saving everything just barely, and we're scrambling. We got guys diving everywhere. That's when you would yell, ice it. And what that means is just chuck the puck out of the defensive zone, similar to get pucks deep, but this one you're intentionally trying to get an icing call so that your team can have a second to rest, that you can reset and you can get a face off. Just fling the puck, get it out of the defensive zone, just get it out of trouble. You got to ice it. That's the other one here. The last one that I'll discuss today is it's not just shoot the puck. That's not a very creative, very hockey specific one. One that's a little bit more hockey specific, that if you want to yell back door. This is something that you can yell when maybe the other team has an offensive player that's sneaking around and he's not being covered and he's on the opposite side of the puck, kind of waiting for a pass to be made to him so that he can shoot it into an open net, because your goalie's paying attention to the other side of the ice because that's where the puck is, like he should be. So you can yell back door when there's a player back there from the stands in hopes that a player hears you and they turn their head and they see this offensive player on the opposing team creeping down to their goalie, trying to be unseen. So that's something that you should always yell, back door, when you see a player. And the reality is they're most likely not going to hear you on the ice. But, hey, we're there to be fans of the game. We want to help our team out. Maybe they hear us, maybe they don't. But let's say you yell back door, player turns, finds him, makes a great defensive play. I'd like to think that, as a fan, we had an impact with that. I just like to believe that, even if we didn't. I'd like to believe it. That's part of what going to games is believing that you have an impact on the game as well. Period number 3, I'm going to go into the NHL playoffs that are happening right now. I've said it 100 times. Everybody, you have to tune into these games. They are amazing. They are wild rides, big hits, high emotions. Lots of goals have been scored, amazing saves across every team. You got to watch. This is the best hockey you'll find all year, the first round of the playoffs. Best time of the year. So I gave some picks and predictions at the beginning. I'd say I'm doing pretty well so far. Maybe not so much on the games that I guessed it would be, but I'm doing pretty well on the winners that I thought would happen. It's almost all the favorites that are kind of winning right now. So it's kind of maybe not that hard to predict, but I will say there are a few series that you need to tune into and watch. There's only one series right now that's tied, and there's a lot of them that are at 3-1 in the series. So like I said before, it's best of 7 series. So you first one to win 4 games advances to the next round. We have Dallas and Vegas that are gridlocked at 2-2. And the way it works is the first 2 games of the series are played at the higher seeds home arena, their home barn. And then the second 2 games go to the away barn. Then it goes 1-1-1. So you alternate every game after that. So the higher seed, if it goes to game 7, will have played 4 home games, and the lower seed will have played 3. So that's the advantage of being the higher seed. In the Dallas-Vegas series, home ice advantage hasn't mattered. Vegas won both of their games in Dallas, and Dallas won both of their games in Vegas. I think that Dallas is the better team here. I think they kind of stumbled out of the blocks here, and Vegas had a lot of emotion, and they came out swinging, had a really great start. But I think Dallas is really the better team, and I think that, unfortunately, it took them 2 games to really wake up and feel the desperation of that they need to win. But they have it now. They're desperate, and they are sending it every moment of the game, giving it their all. And the last Dallas-Vegas game I watched, 4-2, Stars won. Very close game, really, the whole time. So I think, these are going to be close games every single time, but I do still think that Dallas is going to come out. I'd say everybody tune in and watch that. Next game's probably Friday night. These have been kind of late games, which is a little tough to watch. Sometimes they don't start till 8:30 or 9 o'clock at night. But next one will be in Dallas, so it should be in the central time zone, so a little earlier for most people instead of being in the Pacific time zone there. The other series that are all at 3-1 would be Winnipeg, Colorado. Colorado's up 3-1. Nashville, Vancouver. Vancouver's up 3-1. Edmonton, LA Kings Edmonton's up 3-1. Boston, Toronto, Boston's up 3-1. And then Carolina and the New York Islanders, Carolina's up 3-1. So out of all of these 3-1s, I've got 2 picks for potential comebacks. I will caveat this with it is pretty unlikely that a team comes back from 3-1. Possible, very, very possible, but pretty unlikely. So I would say the 2 that have the highest chance of coming back into the series, I'm going to slate number 1 being the Nashville Predators to be able to come back and beat the Vancouver Canucks. The Canucks have won, 3 out of the 1, but they've done it with 3 different goalies. And I'll tell you what, I've seen numerous times you put a third string goalie or a backup goalie into the series. They often win one game for you. They often come in, the team backs them up, they sell out, they block shots, they play the best defense they can, they win the game. What almost never happens is that the backup goalie or the third string goalie in this case maintains excellence and maintains that high level of play throughout a series. So I really don't see Vancouver unless they can, get their goaltending back to the Thatcher Demko, their Vezina finalist, that, I don't see them having much advantage over Nashville. They also just, the games doesn't really seem like the stars for Vancouver have really flourished a ton. Quinn Hughes has looked pretty good, not great. He's probably going to win the Norris Trophy this year, the most valuable defenseman award. And he's not necessarily living up to that or playing to that standard yet. Playing good, but you would like to see a little bit more. Elias Pettersson hasn't done much in that series as well. So you'd like to see your stars really step up on Vancouver. But I would say Nashville probably has the biggest chance because of the goaltending situation. So, if they've got some leaky goaltenders, then, they can get pucks deep and play a solid game. They could win. I think Nashville's got a chance to really come back. The other one, I feel dumb saying it, but I wanted to give you 2 picks here. I just really don't think that Winnipeg has it or the Kings have it in them or the Islanders have it in them to come back in their series. Who I think potentially could do it would be the Toronto Maple Leafs. And if you're new to hockey, this is the New York Yankees of hockey, the Toronto Maple Leafs, except for they have almost kind of like that Boston Red Sox curse of never winning that they had for the longest time. It's essentially a team that always has great players and always is one move away from being the best team in the league. However, they always lose in the playoffs. They won one round one time last year, and it had been maybe 10 years before that since they'd won another round. But they go to the playoffs every year, and they lose every time. So it's just something that is in the organization as a curse or a flu that they have right now. So they're also, speaking of flu, a few of the Toronto star players have kind of had some weird illness that's kind of kept them out of the games, and it's been kind of funky. So Boston's really been able to take it to them. They've really out physicaled them in the games so far. But I do think that Toronto, they really do have some of the best players in the game. If Austin Matthews is in, if Nylander's playing well, and if Mitch Marner shows up to the series, I know he had a goal in the last game, but he's been really underperforming as well. If those 3 can just, play to the level that they play in the regular season, Toronto has a chance. They can win 3 games in a row against Boston. It can happen. I'm not saying it's likely to happen. I'm just saying it's possible that Toronto does it. Whereas, the other games with the LA Kings and Edmonton, I think that's over. The New York Islanders and Carolina, I think Carolina's got that in the bag. Winnipeg, Colorado, that game, that series could have been a sweep if the Colorado Avalanche would have had, even slightly below average goaltending, would have had them a win in the first game. They had terrible goaltending in the first game. Ever since then, their goalie Georgiev's really stepped up and bounced back. Looks like he's playing well now. So if they get average goaltending or even slightly below average goaltending, Colorado's been throttling Winnipeg. So I don't think that this is, I would assume, honestly, that game's probably going to end next series or next game, and Winnipeg is probably going to be the last one for that series. So there's really only, in my opinion, 3 series to watch at this point. It's Dallas, Vegas. That one's gridlocked at 2-2. Essentially, you've got a best of 3 left for them. That's probably going to go to Game 7. 2 big, deep teams. Turn into those games if you want to watch some good ones. If you want to see some drama potentially unfold before it happens, I would tune into Vancouver, Nashville, or Boston, Toronto this week. Check those games out. Again, thanks everybody for listening. That's the end of the podcast for today. I really appreciate we're over 500 downloads on this thing now, so it's growing, and I appreciate everybody that shares it with their friends and family. And keep doing that. Reach out to me if you have suggestions for the pod or want to hear me talk about something. I've been loving the feedback, been trying to apply a lot of it, taking in a lot of it. Thanks everyone. Have a great rest of your week.